No!
So, it's been a while since I last did a Crash Crazies. There were a few feuds here and there during the hiatus that I could have covered, but I don't have too much time on my hands to do one on every single bit of drama within this fandom. But I'll surely try to cover the really worthy, super hilarious stories made here. So all of the drama around then that I could have covered is done and over by now, but have no fear, for the anti-racist racists are here. This is some drama from back in April that I had screenshotted through and stored. So for today's Crash Crazies, we'll be taking a look at some folks who seemingly misheard Crash Team Racing as Crash Team Racism, and know that silly joke of mine is not a reference towards the whole watermelon Tana situation, where a Tana skin was given lighter fur and renamed to Summertime Tana due to some backlash from weirdos over on Reset Era. By the way, that's a nice melon shirt. Maybe we could throw some melon pants into the mix. Anyways, so instead I'm referring to some fellow bandicooters over on the 100% wholesome site known as Twitter that believe that Aku Aku is a racist depiction. So let's take a look, shall we? So this little altercation all begins with Nitrous Brio apologists' reply to this originally unrelated main tweet here, and his reply reads,
God, why did they make him look like that? I hope whoever at Sony looked at that character design and approved it. Experiences redacted.
Maniacal Toaster replies saying,
They really looked at a plank of wood with the racist fish lips and thought, yeah, this is fine.
So we have apologists clearly upset about Aku's design to the point of wishing something negative on whomever had approved of the design. Whether or not apologist is joking and ironically exaggerating his feelings towards the design, I have no idea. Maniacal Toaster then suggests that a fish's lips are racist, especially when applied to a plank of wood. So TJ replies to Maniacal Toaster saying, reaching. And then Toaster replies by saying,
Not really, but sure, you can just invite yourself into a conversation with no real input other than no, you're wrong.
TJ replies by saying,
Actually, I can, and I did, hee hee.
Apologist replies by saying,
Please look at like any black caricature from the Jim Crow era and try to understand why it's fucked to give those same lips to a character that's obviously supposed to evoke a man of color.
TJ replies by saying,
Oh my lord, his eyebrows are the same exact color red. I'm 100% sure this is a gigantic reach.
So apologist goes on to assume the intentions of the character designers and is seemingly implying that all animated characters should resemble one race or something. Just look at his redesign of Aku where he completely removes the lips. I guess all Asians should never be depicted with more squinting eyes. Cartoons typically exaggerate all types of features, so imagine being this thin-skinned and believing this to actually be some sort of actual problem, some injustice that needs to be resolved. This guy is really helping reduce suffering here. You'll see later he actually does consider himself some type of hero and very progressive, you know, progressing society by suggesting everyone rage over character designs. Now, even if a character design were to be some type of racist joke, how is it progressive and beneficial to society for everybody to constantly cower in fear over jokes? Seems to me that that would just weaken society, but okay. By the way, once again, Aku Aku is indeed a plank of wood. So Apologist replies to TJ by saying,
How does that change literally anything?
And Toaster replies by saying,
It doesn't. This guy's just being a contrarian for the sake of trolling.
Ah yes, the classic everybody who disagrees with me is a troll. Oh, by the way, Twitter for iPhone. So TJ replies by saying,
I'm really not. My point is the mask is made out of wood. He has rainbow feathers and red eyebrows and lips with glowing yellow and green eyes. How this looks like Jim Crow era portrayals makes no fucking sense. Not to mention Mel Winkler voluntarily voiced him.
So Toaster replies by saying,
Okay, my friend literally explained it like 3 times, so you're being willfully ignorant at this point, dude. If all you have is no it's not, I don't see how you expect us to respect your opinion.
Well, Maniacal Toaster, pretty much all you guys have been saying is it's racist because we say it's racist. Those lips are too big. Fish lips, fish lips. By the way, why are you comparing the lips of other colored people to fish lips? That seems kind of racist. So Apologist replies to TJ by saying,
Too literal, man. It's a visual stand-in for a human face, the lore reinforces that Aku is intended to represent a man of color, and they still paired him with visual shorthand that is understood in Western media to be historically tied to racist depictions of people of color.
No, they didn't. They actually didn't. You're just a racist yourself. People of whatever race should be allowed to look like what they look like. There's barely any exaggeration at all compared to actual racist cartoons with racist intentions behind their depictions and such. Cartoons in general exaggerate, stretch, maximize, all of that shit. You simply just want there to be racism present so that you can feel morally superior without actually making a real effort to actually be morally superior. So TJ replies to Toaster's reply from earlier, and he says,
"Because it is so ridiculous, most people with common sense don't need an explanation, and you're already too far gone."
So Apologist replies to his own reply from earlier by saying,
There are a lot of really questionably designed and written characters in media that still end up getting portrayed by people of color. That's their business, not mine to take the gig, but the questionable elements are still there either way. That doesn't erase them.
questionable elements. Yeah, questionable to our little savior over here. They play the role because they're not a virtue signaling weirdo like you. They acknowledge that the character is not intended to be a racist depiction. I mean, for goodness sake, Aku is a fucking hero in the game. Your profile picture is one of the white villains within the series. So Toaster replies to TJ's reply from earlier by saying,
No, actually, most people with common sense know not to go at people they don't know and attempt to start fights with them over them talking about racial issues and then accuse them of being too far gone because it makes them look like a big dumb asshole, you big dumb asshole.
And then TJ replies by saying,
Ad hominem.
So racial issues. Yeah, imagine actually considering this at all a racial issue. Don't worry, I'll save you from those racist fish lips of yours. So Toaster replies to TJ's reply by saying,
Ah, cool. Using terms you probably don't actually know the meaning of because you have no arguments. I'm done with you, pal.
says the one whose only argument was plank of wood have racist fish lips. So TJ replies to Apologist's reply from earlier by saying,
I feel like this isn't our place to decide if something is racist when someone of the same race as the quote mocked unquote race willingly voiced the character obviously doesn't think that way. Before you were saying it was Jim Crow-esque, but the natives are supposed to be Pacific Islander.
So Everett hops in, replying to Toaster by saying,
A plank of wood that is an ancient spirit cannot be compared to racist caricatures. They aren't the same. End of story. Mr. Fantastic would have a hard time making a longer reach than this.
Toaster replies by saying,
Interesting strategy. Talking a lot while saying absolutely nothing, then declaring end of story as if that completely destroys my arguments that had actual points, rather than going, no, you're wrong, shut up or I'll cry.
Everett responds by saying,
It's a plank of wood, so your argument doesn't exist. Simple. Literally a wooden plank with no ties to race, historical, racism, etc.
So once again, I'll point out that the only argument that Toaster here had made was plank of wood have racist fish lips. And Apologist was basically just like, there were racist cartoons in the past, therefore Aku is a racist depiction because he has lips. So Apologist replies to Everett by saying,
No fiction exists in a vacuum, and all creative choices made by creators are tied back to them. But even with the absolute basics of media analysis aside, the lore already explicitly ties him to indigenous people by establishing that the guy sealed in that mask is a native person.
And he continues his reply by saying,
Most things in fiction are analogs to things in real life. I'd encourage you to read up on ethnic coding of fictional characters, but you don't even need that here because the lore establishes that he's human and a native of the islands. The character represents a man of color.
Toaster replies by saying,
You're giving him too much credit and are assuming he reads anything other than 4chan forms.
Them damned 4chaners speaking to each other without censorship. Anyways, Apologist here is still just making the same silly argument. Lips bad because people with racist intentions in the past made extremely exaggerated depictions of people of color and not the vice versa. As if none of the other Crash characters are highly wacky and exaggerated. I wonder if he finds Tana to be a sexist depiction because she was originally depicted as a woman with a bigger chest, something that many women feature. He most likely does consider it sexist because, you know, everybody has to have the same same body type, right? So Toaster replies to Everett by saying,
Why would I give you any attention? You're literally just a random asshole. You has a smug avatar that came in with "No, you're wrong and this argument is over. I have nothing to gain from you, and I'm going to prove that by muting you and instantly forgetting that you even exist. Bye."
So Toaster in a bathtub sure showed him, right guys? Everybody knows you win arguments by ignoring all opposing viewpoints. That way you can never be convinced that you're wrong. Oh, and if you ever do end up in an argument, just keep repeating, "You have no arguments and I have arguments," like a mantra until you feel threatened enough to finally mute them. No actual construction of arguments required. So TJ retweets one of Toaster's replies and says,
"What is going on?"
And Ryan Shia replies to TJ by saying,
Here's a retort. Titan's Aku Aku dropped a good number of those alleged stereotypes. Next to nobody liked this design.
Okay, so notice how this design doesn't feature the racist fish lips. Anyways, I'm sure Apologist and Toaster would never block anybody, right? They're so sure that they're correct, so it's gotta be the case that they don't live in an echo chamber. It's just gotta be the case. It's gotta. Let's see here. Oh, here's a quote tweet of another tweet by Apologist. I'm just going to take a look into the comment section real quick. So Porcus says,
"Haha, I'm blocked by them."
Maddie replies by saying,
"Maybe it's for the best. This guy's a big yikes."
Porcus replies by saying,
"Yeah, I've heard a lot about them, lol."
Sweet Tooth replies to this retweet by saying,
"Too bad I can't see it, lol."
Doggy Bag replies saying,
"What is it? I'm blocked."
Say what? No way. I'm shocked. Well, maybe Toaster is a different kind of guy. After all, he did talk a lot about how he had them arguments. Oh. Well, looks like Toaster isn't up for much discussion either. What a bummer. I could have sworn that progress is made by not living in an echo chamber. Anyways, I'm curious about Apologist, so I'm going to check out what he's got going on in his timeline. Here's Apologist's pinned tweet.
New intro. LGBT themes come up a lot in all of my art, including Crash fan art, so don't follow if that bothers you. Go away if you draw/look at porn of Coco or Nina, they are kids. Papu Papu is a racist caricature. Don't follow if you don't want to hear that. Google Bushman stereotype.
Okay. So, let's look at some more tweets. Here's one.
I think it's not good for those of us outside of a given minority group to always want to err on the side of insisting that any potential problem negatively impacting minorities is imaginary. I think it's not good to have a knee-jerk inclination to deny racism that may or may not be. That's what this mindset is at its core, erring towards denying the presence of racism wherever it might possibly be, and carried out far enough and with enough moving the goalposts over and over, which people love to do this, and this gets you to some pretty ugly places. There are entire academic papers out there you can read about the impact that stereotype-laden media representation has had on different indigenous peoples throughout history, and by people who belong to those groups. The Bushman stereotype Papu fits to a T is one of these. Individuals who are comfortable with representations of groups they belong to that follow stereotypes, that's their business, not mine or anyone else outside of that group. But it's not hard to acknowledge when long-established stereotypes are objectively being played into, i.e. if there are First Nations people out there who are fine with the Indians and Disney's Peter Pan, that's their business and not mine, but it would still be absurd for me as a non-native person to cite that as indicating that there's objectively nothing wrong with that depiction. Dude, I get pretentious with every progressive tweet. Soon I'm just gonna type exactly like the cybersmith does.
Oh goodness, he's progressing society, guys. His progress level is through the roof. You get those lips.
The day they finally stop giving the masks bright red little Sambo-styled fish lips.
So now Apologist is calling them fish lips too.
Crash Twitter is gonna shit itself over me saying this, but seriously, if you value being progressive and ensuring your content is free of hurtful shit, please consider not drawing Aku/Uka with those damn lips. At least not coloring them bright red. If not, then shush and keep scrolling. If you're interested in this and have more questions, you can DM me for a guide I tried to put together on suggestions for how to better approach drawing the mask's lips. I'm not posting it on Twitter because if it circulates at all, people will flip out at it.
You know, guys, I kind of hold off on doing these videos because I don't want my brain to completely rot away from reading this kind of shit. So Casey Cockroach replies to Apologist here by saying,
You see how people are freaking the hell out over Dingo Dial having a redesign? Just imagine your Twitter wall being flooded with, they removed the mask's lips, ugh, hashtag put the lips back on.
Username checks out. Anyways, Apologist replies to Casey Cockroach by saying,
God, it's true.
Cockroach replies by saying,
Hashtag let Brio and Aku kiss should be the next trend.
and then Apologist replies with this silly meme. It's a funny meme, but, you know, of course it is. Mentally ill people can be pretty funny. Mr. What's It To You replies by saying,
It will likely never happen, as Activision doesn't want to take the risk of being boycotted by soccer moms, but in your defense, I know what it's like to love a ship so much that you want it to be canon. I am that way with Cortex and Jin/Uka/Tropy.
woo, okay, we made it through. So that's it for today's Crash Crazies, gentlemen and ladies. I'd say it's worth noting that I don't hold any ill will towards anybody mentioned in this video, of course, nor do I have any bias or huge liking towards anybody mentioned in the video. If I eventually end up making fun of you too, don't take it too personal. Don't worry about it too much. We can still hang out. I mean, we're all retards here.
There's some lows. Yeehaw. Have a TNT. Yeehaw. There's some lows. Yeehaw. Have a TNT. Yeehaw. There's some lows. Yeehaw. Have a TNT. Yeehaw. There's some lows. Yeehaw. Have a TNT. What an asshole.
Hey, you're finally awake. That fall looked like it hurt a lot. What? Global pandemic? Riots? Blue jeans? Quit goofing around. We got some Crash Bandicoot fans to make fun of.